So we're looking at units and the battlefield from La Bataille de Ligny. This is near Flores, the town of Flores. Let's see, so looking back at the sequence of play, we're at the real basics, basically moving and shooting. So again, we have under the sequence of play or chronology of battle, same thing. You have a French turn followed by a anti-French turn, and each player turn has the same 6 main phases. It's cavalry charge, movement, defensive fire, offensive fire, assault by melee, morale recovery. So we are, or I'm picking up here at the enemies of the revolution turn. No cavalry charges, no cavalry for the Prussians here. They aren't going to do any movement. Actually, I did change facing right here, so I changed facing here. So well, they were faced like that. They're facing the village hex. I had them change facing to face the cultivated hex there. Defensive fire. Defensive fire, defensive fire. So, oh wait, did I forget French offensive fire? Well, actually, my French line of skirmishers here, I did skip the French offensive fire phase, but to go back to that, I guess they wouldn't see the Prussians in the cultivated hexes here. To go back to what we talked about earlier. I will double check that. Okay, I think I have the intent here. So these French units can only be fired on. So that's fire combat by enemy that are adjacent and in tirailleur or skirmish formation. So that would be these guys once they move adjacent. I think that when the rest of the French forces get up here, I think they're going to I think the idea is they're going to have to assault. I think that's the intent. So, okay, I think we're back to the enemies of revolution turn. Now I'm wondering, no, they don't get the enemies of the French do not get defensive fire in this case. So we are finally to offensive fire. I want the French here to be able to fire for the first time. So let's go through the Silesian rifles here. I think they can fire on, so they're going to fire on the center French battalion in skirmisher formation. So let's do fire. It should be straight up fire combat. Let's see how this works. Okay, I do have to correct myself, not surprisingly. This battalion has a strength of 5 increments. So when it is in skirmish formation, it has to be in the 2 hex skirmish. Okay, this one has 2 increments, so it is in 1 hex in skirmish formation. So I guess I'll go like that, and then this one has 5. So yeah, so it's 1 2 1 2 1. Do have to correct, and this is not a choice. Combat units with 3 or less increments adopt this formation in 1 hex and face a vertex. Combat formations with 4 or more increments must be deployed in 2 hexes, with the increments to be divided as evenly as possible between the 2 hexes. So it's 2.5 and 2.5, or 3 and 2, 3 and 2, however it's done. Okay. So I guess I have to figure this all out, because I want my Silesian rifles, which by the way has 2 increments. So it's in 1 hex correctly. fires at a hex, not a unit. So if I want to fire at this hex, how do I handle the defense? Okay, I'll explain what I did anyways. What I did was I determined the defender's defense factor first, and that is infantry in skirmish. Order in clear terrain is 14, and I didn't see any modifiers to that, so I left that at 14. Then for the attack factor, I took two increments of Schutzen, 2 increments times 4 from the fire effects table, which is Schutzen in skirmish mode or skirmish formation. That's times 4, so 2 times 4 is 8. 8 to 14 as a ratio is 1 to 2, and then I rolled and got a 32, which isn't even close. I needed to get a 62 or better. Yeah, 62 or better. So no effect. And that's again how I did it. I didn't see any other modifiers. So back around to the Liberators of the Oppressed turn. No cavalry charges, and we're going right to movement phase, and I want this skirmisher battalion to move into the cultivated hex here. So the question is this, so this moved into the front hex of both the Jaegers here and the Landwehr in line here. So do I combine all the fire for the opportunity fire? Let's see. So I did not really get any absolute clarification on this at all, so I'm just going to go with what I know so far. I guess the fire can combine. This is still a front hex of the Jaegers. This is clearly a front hex of the Landwehr here. So what do I know? I think only 3 increments per hex can fire out for units in skirmish order, but the Jaegers only have a strength of 2. So that is 2. And then here it's 4 and 4 because it's 8 strength, so 4 and 4 for each hex. But only up to 4 increments can fire out of a hex in line anyways. So it's 4 increments are firing from here and 2 from here. So then the defense value is infantry in skirmish in cultivated. So I think that's 16. That's 14 for clear plus 2 for cultivated is 16. And I don't see any other defensive modifiers. So 16. And then the fire effects table, again, let's see, this is Prussian. Oh, I guess it's Landwehr. I'm going to say it's Landwehr. It's 1.5, so it's 4 times 1.5 for 6. And then the Jaegers, they're Jaegers, not Schutzen. That's Schutzen. Jaegers in skirmishes times 3. So it's 2 increments times 3 for 6. 6 plus 6 is 12. 12 to 16. 12 to 16. So I hope I'm doing this all right. I had to double check that these are Landwehr. As far as I know, they are. And the reason why I had to check that is because this is a dramatic difference. Basically, the overall attack is 1 to 1.5, whereas if the Landwehr were regular Prussian line infantry, it would be 1 to 5 to 1, which is quite a dramatic difference. As a matter of fact, the die roll, I rolled a 51, which in this case is no effect. But if the Landwehr were not Landwehr, and if the Landwehr were even Prussian Fusiliers, the 51 would have been a hit. So pretty significant. Now what I'm wondering is this is the French, this is the French movement phase. So I guess when we move to the next phase, the defensive fire phase, I guess if these units are eligible for defensive fire, then they're going to get to attack again. That being the increased firepower of being adjacent to the enemy. Okay, so I guess even though I didn't want to move further, I guess the French infantry and skirmish order, they enter an enemy zone of influence, so they have to cease movement anyways. I think I saw that. I think I went over that. Anyways, now, yikes. So if this unit moves here, yikes, what is... what is... Why did I never see this before? So, am I even doing this right? So the Lantver are in these two hexes. So what hex are they firing at for opportunity fire? I guess they're firing in response to a... Wait. Wait. What? So this unit... can fire here. By the way, then I need to figure out, because this is an odd increment, 5 increments. So is it 3 and 2? 2.5, 2.5? So does this unit fire at opportunity fire at this hex? Because it can't see this hex because of the cultivated hex side there. But the Lantver, we have a double hex of Lantver conducting opportunity fire against a skirmish order battalion in 2 hexes. So is it 2 hexes against this? 1 hex against this hex? Man, I don't know. By the way, I'll continue looking at this, but it almost looks like, under the basic fire combat chapter, it almost looks like it is by hex. So I take this hex, and it would be these 2 hexes firing at that hex, and that's 1 roll. Then it's this hex against this hex, and that's it would actually be these 2 together combined against this hex as a roll. Is that what's intended? I should I need to make what I think is a massive correction. Massive. So in trying to figure out opportunity fire, I jumped up to the 5th edition rules since I have them handy for La Bataille de Ligny, and it very clearly says, so first of all, I was reading about opportunity fire, and it made it sound like I was doing it wrong. And way at the bottom of the opportunity fire paragraph, it says moving into a zone of influence does not trigger opportunity fire. That is black and white, and I was doing that wrong. So I had units moving into a zone of influence and having the non-phasing player conducting opportunity fire. That's wrong. So then I was thinking, okay, is 5th edition different? Because I am still playing by the Premier edition. I will use the 5th edition rules to help clarify stuff, but only to help clarify stuff. I'm going by the Premier rules, PME rules. I'm calling them PME rules. Then I went back to the PME rules, and I do think that I was misunderstanding it. So how did this happen? I think it's just the expectation that units moving into, like a bunch of tactical games, you move into a particular zone and you take opportunity fire. But actually, and I'm going to go by the actual opportunity fire rules section, anytime a combat formation exits a zone of influence or changes formation in a zone of influence. And that's actually I think that's the particular distinction. So moving into a zone of influence does not trigger opportunity fire, but to move out of a zone of influence obviously triggers opportunity fire, or to expend movement points when you're already in a zone of influence draws opportunity fire, but not just moving in. So that would not have even taken place. So he moves into the zone of influence, stops, and then takes defensive fire in the next phase. Okay, well, that kind of makes it easier, right? Because I'm going to have all these guys move. Of course, when I get to defensive fire, I'll have to figure out the whole. But what's going to make it easier is that, well, at least when you start the defensive fire phase, all units are set. So it should be all fire against a single hex is resolved together. You don't divide it up. So anyways, I'll get to that. I'll get to that at some point. So the French units will move more. Let's see. So I think they can change 1 and 2. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. 1, 1, 1, 1. And then defensive fire, I think. So defensive fire for the Prussians. So now the question, it clearly says units may only give fire once during the defensive fire segment of the chronology of battle. Isn't that interesting? So, okay, so looking at this, could I take 1 hex of the Landwehr unit, combine it with the Jaegers against this target, take the second hex of the Landwehr and fire at this hex, and then take the rifles and fire at this hex? How do you do that? How do you divide up? Or is it the Landwehr unit? I mean, I guess no, that would be firing not by unit. That would be firing by hex, right? So I guess it is the Jaegers conduct 1 and only 1 defensive fire attack. Landwehr the same, and the rifles the same. So well, that's what I'll do. I'll have the Jaegers attack here. I'll have the Landwehr attack. I guess it doesn't matter. I guess it doesn't matter because, wait, does it matter? I guess they're attacking this hex. What if the Landwehr unit wanted to attack this hex, then it would only be 4 increments firing. But then that would be combined with the rifles if the rifles were going to attack at that hex. But I'm going to do Jaegers to here, Landwehr to, I guess, here, rifles to here, I guess.